Morning.
Morning.
Okay, it's 9:30. We can get started. Liz?
Good morning. Sorry about that. Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, December 5th, 2022. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101 021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that those calling users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activities being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak in a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak in a particular matter have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. You can go ahead and call the roll, please.
Ms. Roga?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Faith? I am not hearing Ms. Faith.
I do not see Miss Faith yet.
And Ms. Britt.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4.
Thank you. So no withdrawals today or postponements?
No, ma'am.
All right. Do we have any council people signed up?
We do. We have Councilman McCormick, and he has like the lion's share of the cases today. So I don't know if it's going to change the order that much.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess you can start with the first one.
All right. Apologies, I'm just scrolling all the way through the agenda. So we're starting with calendar number 22-206. This is at 2017 West 44th Street. AHA Development OHC LLC proposes to erect a 3-story, 10,500 square foot, 15-unit apartment building in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 7. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Before we continue, I just wanted to point out on this one that this was an updated adjudication, different from the one I just switched the screen to that was originally posted. Just wanted to call that to your attention. Sorry.
Good morning. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Wesley Harper, Horton Harper Architects, 812 Huron Road East, Cleveland.
I do. James Osimus, AHA Development, 4329 Lorraine Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Councilman McCormick, are you testifying? We need to swear you in. Is he still on the call?
Yes, I do see him. He's muted. He often does 2 meetings at the same time, so.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else at this time to swear in? Okay, Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Madam Chair, could we first also include the Apple project as well? These are going to work together. They're part of a larger project.
Oh, yeah.
We should probably hear them together at the same time.
All right. Go ahead, read it in, Ms. Holzer.
We have calendar number 22-201. I'm sorry, I am losing my voice this morning. I don't know what's going on. Calendar number 22-201. This is at 4136 Apple Avenue. AHA Development OHC LLC proposes to construct a parking lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is 1. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Actually, unless Councilman McCormick is available, we've sworn in everyone.
Mhm.
Let's move forward, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, go ahead. History of the properties then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did not find any information on the 4136 Apple address, but we did find information on the 2017 West 44th Street. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929, and the most pertinent information in this case is that in September of 2009, a permit was issued to demolish a 1.5-story dwelling at this address. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Okay, with regard to 2017 West 44th Street, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the maximum gross floor area, minimum lot size, front yard setback, side street yard, minimum rear yard, and parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance. will deprive appellant of substantial property rights and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. However, ordinance number 1238-2022, which has been introduced to Cleveland City Council on November 21st, 2022, but has not yet passed or been enacted, would change the previously issued notice of nonconformist such that appellant would need only area variances from the maximum gross floor area, side street yard, minimum rear yard, and parking regulations of the zoning code. And to obtain those area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And then with regard to 4136 Apple Avenue, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance from the regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And note that this variance should not be granted unless all of the requirements are met.
All right, thank you. Liz, since we have a different adjudication, is that reflecting the new ordinance, or I'm a little confused on how we can rule on something and then the ordinance might change it?
So, Madam Chair, the changes in the ordinance are making this project more compliant. So
Right.
all of the variances that were listed have been reduced by this. So some variances will not be needed, and other sizes are smaller.
Okay.
So we don't believe that we need to repost it.
Oh yeah, and I wasn't worried about that part. I just wanted to make sure that we're not granting something and then an ordinance would make it like not even, worth applying. So okay. Maurice,
Madam Chair.
Can you just blow this up a little bit so I can see which ones are not required now?
Sure. So and we had Rick Riccardi revise this to reflect the upcoming change. So there's no longer a use permit needed because the map change will change the use to multifamily, so that goes away. The area variance has been bumped from a B to a D, so it just changes the numbers. So before now the lot size, you can build to instead of half the lot size, full lot size. So those numbers have been changed, and they have been noted in red on this adjudication. So everything in red is the correct adjudication based on the map change. So the same thing with the area district has changed. Actually, this one would not be required at all. The front yard setback, of course, we can't grant those, and that was actually the basis of starting this map change. Right. And then the side street is going to say the side yard will be the same. The last couple will be the same. So only the ones marked in red are different.
And different as in other than number 2, 1, 3,
right. So
and
1
4
is
are not needed.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for all that upfront information. All right, Mr. Harper, I'm assuming you're the spokesperson for this case?
Yes, Madam Chair. And I'm also joined by the developer, James Asimis, should any additional commentary be needed.
All right.
Thank you for having us. As you can tell, we've been working closely with the city on the site plan for this project, as well as the general design of it as well. This current cluster of parcels includes some privately held parcels as well as land bank parcels. So the site the fact that we have two addresses, the reasoning for that is the apartment structure would be its own parcel, and then the parking would be its own parcel to serve the apartment structure, but then also the development that occurred north of the proposed site in the last couple of years. So there's 29 parking spaces being proposed. 15 are required for the apartment, and the remaining parking spaces would be dedicated to the retail component to the north. All three of those parcels are in the same ownership. So, there's no issue with that dedication in our mind. So the building, is fronting West 44th Street with the setbacks as stated in the notice. It is a 3-story building, 15 units. And then the parking is off of Apple Court and Lorraine Court. And then you can see our elevations. We're not looking for any sort of height variance in this. And so again, we've been working closely with Planning Commission to come to an acceptable proposal for this development overall. With the minimized variances, I think the variances that we are still seeking are relatively typical for a project of this scale and scope. I don't know if there's really any more to add at this point, but maybe Maurice could speak to the process that we've gone through with planning on this. We worked closely with Matt Moss, again, the planning department in general. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Assistant, did you want to add anything else before I go to city planning?
No, nope, just Wes captured it all.
Thank you. Hey, go ahead, Maurice.
As Wes did a very good summation of the project here, and as he indicated, the planning staff has worked very closely with the developer. They have been in the planning commission. It was approved. Unfortunately, we caught the setback issue a little bit later in the process than we would have liked. And so when we started looking at doing the map setback change, we decided that it might be a good idea to go ahead and change the zoning as the use district and the area district as well to more closely match what is actually going on here. And I believe there is a future phase. Let me zoom back out here. In the parcel to what would be on the right as well. So the zoning change went all the way down to the next parcel. So that has been introduced to council. It's been approved at Planning Commission, and we are just waiting for the variance. The legislation to be approved at the DPNS committee at council. So obviously, we are very much in support of this project.
Great, thank you. I open up now to my board for any questions or comments. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, are we ruling on the parking as well, both lots right now?
Yes.
Can we please put the parking variance, that slide back up? Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, board?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Is there a reason what is the reason for this coming to us before the ordinance is passed?
I believe Maurice can probably go into more detail, but I believe he said because they caught the front setback a little bit later than they would have before, and so kind of things were already in motion.
Thank you. I heard him say that, but I didn't understand that was the reason. Thank you.
Yeah, we didn't want to hold the project up and force them to. We could have postponed it, and then they'd have to wait to get onto another agenda. And being that we don't want to hold the project up, so why not just go ahead and have it readjudicated as if the legislation had already passed. And I think what we'll do is your decision today will not be ratified until the actual map change has become law and effective.
That makes the most sense. Yep.
Thank you. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any
Madam
other
Chair?
questions for, Liz?
Yes, I'm not sure if I heard, if the appellant explained the reason that the parking lot is not being consolidated with the building. If they were consolidated, they would not have to have the parking, the standalone parking variance.
I believe Mr. Harper said because the parking lot is working for another address as well, but Mr. Harper, if you want to explain that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, that is the reason. They wanted to be able to apply some of the parking from the Apple Avenue parcel to the retail component, and this was the method in which they wanted to do this. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, does that cover everything for everyone?
Think so.
Okay. Madam Chair, we've heard testimony from the appellant, the architect, and a lot of input from city planning that's very valuable on this this case. I see Mr. Harper has his hand up. Is that something he wants to interject before I move forward?
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And James, correct me if I'm wrong, but the owner is looking to execute the construction of the parking spaces as soon as possible. James, is that still the case? If that is, I'm wondering if we can have the variances approved for the parking parcel and still wait on ratifying the decision for the apartment structure parcel.
Good question, Mr. Harper. Maurice, do you want to weigh in on that?
Madam Chair, through the chair to Ms. Faith, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that. Mr. Riccardi, can you think of any reason that we wouldn't do that? That's a complete. They are two separate cases.
Yeah.
And because I just don't see any reason why we couldn't do that.
This is Rick Riccardi. I think that'd be fine.
Great, thank you. Okay,
Good
so
catch.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's do this on calendar number 22-206. We've heard the testimony on from city planning and extensive coverage of the changes that are going to be made to the zoning. So with that in mind, and as Ms. Kukla stated, we will vote and then we can hold ratification until the ordinances have been passed. On calendar number 22-201, the adjacent property, we've also heard testimony from Mr. Riccardi, Mr. Ruins, on the parking, and we'll go ahead and make a vote on that, and then that can be ratified as a separate issue. So on both calendar 22-206 and and 22-201, I move that we go ahead and approve the variances on both cases.
Thank you. The friendly reminder that 1, 3, and 4 are no longer needed. And can I have a second, please?
Member Brown, I second.
Ms. Brown with the second. Go ahead and call the roll.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-206 is granted conditionally We will hold ratification until we receive proof that the legislation has been enacted. Calendar number 22-201 is granted as well, and it will be ratified next Monday, and then we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you for rolling with the punches on this one with us, planning and zoning. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next case.
We have calendar number 22-205. This is at 4003 Franklin Boulevard. Donald A. Malone Jr. and Janine Ann Malone propose to erect a 10-foot by 24-foot one-story frame sunroom attached to an existing detached garage and two-family residence. The owners appeal for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are two. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Tim Newfer, New Architecture, 2157 Glenberry Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio.
I do. Janine Malone, 4003 Franklin Boulevard, Cleveland, Ohio.
Anyone else for this case?
I do. Celine Shank, 3901 Franklin Boulevard.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not correct. In 1985, this property was rezoned to the two-family residential district from local retail, or sorry, general retail business. There's one variance on file for this address, Madam Chair. In calendar 96-54, a variance was granted to erect a one-story frame private garage. And then, Madam Chair, in the more recent history, we found that that permit was issued for that garage. And that's all that I have that's relevant, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the required rear yard and maximum gross floor area regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Who will be the spokesperson for this case?
I will. Tim Newfer, New Architecture.
All right, Mr. Newfer, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, the owners want to add a 240 square foot enclosed sunroom onto their existing area between the townhouse and the detached garage. Well, by adding this sunroom, it's about 240 square feet. It will make the garage an attached garage so they can go from their garage into their townhouse. By doing that, the existing square footage is over by 3% of the existing. So they're requesting a variance for that added sunroom square footage.
Okay. Maurice, can you just zoom in on this a little bit more, please?
I sure can.
So there is an existing patio. I don't know if there's some pictures that I sent. So
Before
it's
we the pictures, can you explain upper and lower sunroom? What does that mean?
That means because the existing patio that you see in the picture or in the site plan is higher, is the elevation is higher up than the elevation of the garage. You have to go down some existing steps right now to get to the lower part of the patio to get into the garage. And by doing the sunroom, the upper and level is going to put the stairs or the steps inside the sunroom when they come out of their garage. So there's actually 2 levels to the sunroom. It's about a 3-foot difference.
Thank you.
Yep, seeing that now. All right,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Malone. Who was
I'll
that?
wait. I'll hold my question till later.
Okay, Ms. Malone, did you want to add anything here?
No, I think Tim described it pretty well. The sunroom just would give us, great clearance instead of going outside, especially in the winter, going to the garage. It just kind of connects the 2 structures and makes it kind of a more complete, floor plan.
All right, Ms. Shank.
So this
Celine?
picture, I'm sorry, this picture here,
I don't have anything to add.
this is looking
Okay,
back
thank
from
you.
the pond towards the area where the sunroom will be added.
If it ever downloads. Is anyone else seeing the white square too? Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Okay, Ms. Roca, you had a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the last slide, there was a section marked as overbuild. I would just like Mr. Newford to explain what that means to the board.
The overbuild is where part of the roof for the sunroom will actually hip into the existing garage. It'll still be low, will be below the actual peak, the existing peak. So you will not see that roof go above the peak line of the existing garage.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, board? All right, city planning?
Yes, Madam Chair, Maurice Rowland, City Planning. This project is in a landmark district, and the Landmarks Commission has reviewed and approved this project, and we also support this project. The increase in area is very, very minimal, and although we don't generally like smaller rear yards, we do feel that in this case, because it's only off to the side, there still does provide a rear yard off to the side, which, as you know, is really important for in the event of a fire for the fire department to be able to access the rear of the house. So we do think that there is still access from the rear.
All right,
So
thank
we
you.
recommend approval.
All right, so I don't think board had any more questions. If not, entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, there was another person sworn in. Did she have
Yeah,
comments?
she already said she didn't need to comment.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Madam Chair, hearing no other questions. With regard
Madam
to,
Chair, I do see Kerry McCormick, Councilman McCormick, just raised his hand.
oh, all right.
If
Hey.
he wants to testify, he'll need to be sworn in.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And my apologies. I'm in committee, so I'm getting texts when I'm supposed to jump on or not. So I appreciate your patience with me. We've got an all-day committee today. Madam Chair, I just wanted to briefly comment on this.
Councilman,
I'm
you
sorry.
have to be sworn in before you can comment. Sorry.
As a city official.
Yes.
Yes.
A new policy. That's a new policy then. Okay, go ahead.
Do you
It's
swear
not
or
actually.
affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and address.
I do. Kerry McCormick, City Hall, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to speak in support of these variances, and you've already heard it. And again, forgive me, I'm not going to repeat anything, but I just did want to speak in support of the homeowner and their requests here for the addition. And that's it, really. I'm not going to repeat it all, but this solid community member that's investing in their home and in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. All right. I'll move forward with the councilman's endorsement of this. We've heard from city planning that Landmarks has approved this, and also city planning has approved this and supported. The councilman has stated his support. In looking at the plans, it looks like a nice addition to a very nicely well landscaped backyard, and it should tie in nicely with the hip roof that ties into the garage. And give the homeowners a nice access between the house and the garage during inclement weather. So with that being said, I move that we approve calendar number 2205.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Roca seconds.
Ms. Roker, second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. I'm sorry, Brown, Holzer, right? I'm drawing a blank.
Roca.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And Ms. Brett.
Yes.
Calendar number 205 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck with
Thank you,
everything.
everybody.
Good luck.
you.
All right, next case.
Our next case is calendar number 22-207. This is at 3015 Chatham Avenue. M&M Property Group LLC proposes to erect a single-family residence and attached 3-car garage in the rear of a parcel located in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances, as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Paul Began, Began Architectural Design, 15703 Madison.
I do. Kerry McCormick, 601 Lakeside.
I do. Mike Clifford, M&M Property, 250 Plymouth Drive, Bay Village.
I do. Sean Ryan, 2169 West 31st Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
I do. Mark Raymond, 2141 West 30th Street, Cleveland, Ohio.
I do. John Seek, 2174 West 32nd Street, Cleveland.
I do. Ben Trimble, Chief Real Estate Officer, Ohio City Incorporated, 4007 Clinton Avenue.
Okay, anyone else? Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. Their Records Administration Office, we found in 1938, a permit was issued to enlarge a basement on the site. And then, Madam Chair, I think the most pertinent information is that in calendar number 21-020, a variance was granted to erect a garage with storage above. And that's all that I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the minimum floor area and required rear yard regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you. Who will be the spokesperson for this case? Mr. Beegan?
I will. This is Paul Beegan from Beegan Architectural Design.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, this garage we designed actually for the previous owner for this particular property. It's a 3-car garage. It does have space above. So the pictures that you're seeing are the garage that was reviewed and permitted and approved. So it has already been constructed under a previous permit. The new owners of this property are finishing out the inside of the garage that you can see there. Technically it qualifies now as a separate unit. And so really it's interior construction for an already built garage here on this particular property.
So let me get clear. So we approved for you to build a garage, and then a garage was built, and then a separate living unit was put on top of this garage?
No, that all of the construction there was already permitted and approved. The inside space was not completed from the previous owner that would work with. The new owner is doing the interior portion of that second floor of the garage, which now qualifies this as a separate unit. It is a 2-family district that we are in as well, too. That should be noted.
Madam Chair.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, Liz, why is this why is this here? Okay.
So, Madam Chair, in 2021, when they requested the construction of this building, the second floor was at that time stated to be used as future storage. There was no intent at that time to use it as a unit. So it was constructed or it was approved as a 2-story building.
Okay, so it was originally approved for storage and now it's an actual living unit.
Yes,
Okay.
new owner of the property.
And that's
No, I
what
get
they're
it.
here.
Okay.
That's what they're here for today, to get approval for that living unit.
Okay, because I'm like, a garage, but it's built. We got a variance already. Now I got it. Okay. All right. Did I hear 2 Mr. Raymond's swear in? Or just one?
I think just one.
Just one? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Raymond.
I think you might allow other people who, the owner maybe, to speak.
I'm just going in order of who swore in. So if you want to say something, go ahead.
Yeah, this property is a couple hundred feet from my house. The initial plan was storage in quotation marks, I'd say. Obviously, from the pictures there, you see there's the existing pictures, there's a balcony with a railing on it. I don't know why you need a balcony with a railing for storage, but this front house has been used as a full-time Airbnb since it was purchased by the new owners. And I assume that's what the back unit would be used as an Airbnb as well, which is obviously a very different use than a residential unit, somebody living there full-time. More of a commercial use. I definitely don't support it. There are numerous of these in the neighborhood and on West 30th Street, Chatham Avenue, all over the neighborhood, and it's really changing the complexion of the neighborhood. And I don't support that without any rules at the city level or any oversight. Currently, there are none, and I don't think that's a good path. So I object to this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Councilman, you're next, unless you want to go last.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm good to go now, and normally I would wait, but I am in committee, so I appreciate everyone's patience in allowing me to speak. Madam Chair, again, this and with all due respect to Mr. Raymond, there are rules around Airbnb. There was a law passed in 2016 that prohibits strictly in the city of Cleveland full-time Airbnbs or full-time limiting lodging residents. So again, I understand that that's not pursuant to this variance, but this is a non-conforming illegal use. So I don't think that the city of Cleveland should be granting variances to a non-conforming illegal use pursuant to ordinance 30-16. It defines in general provisions 1 and 2 and 3 the requirements for limited lodging. And as is evidenced by the public postings for this property, this is being used as a non-owner occupied full-time limited lodging residence, which is an illegal use in the city of Cleveland. So I do not think that the Board of Zoning Appeals should be granting a variance for an illegal non-conforming use in the city of Cleveland, just as we would not grant a variance for an illegal bar or an illegal something else. I think this should fall under that same standard. Again, this law is now over 6 years old. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for anyone. Once again, this is a non-conforming illegal use.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. I have Sean. I didn't catch your last name.
Is Ryan. I believe that was your confusion. Raymond, Ryan.
Okay, there we go. All right, go ahead.
That is my residence right there with the 2 white cars in the driveway, West 31st Street. I'd just like to say, I believe they had full intention for this new apartment. While building it, they used my driveway to load cabinetry. I don't know what they need cabinetry in a storage unit upstairs would be, but the previous owner tore down that fence, telling me he'd help me put up another one. He didn't, and I believe that fence doesn't have a permit either. I called about that and never got a direct answer. But yeah, I don't believe this is, I just was confused by the wording they proposed to erect when it was already erected. And as you can see, as Mr. Raymond said, that patio is already there. I don't know anybody that has a patio for something that's designed for storage. I believe this was pre-planned and they just messed up. I don't think we, the neighbors, or the neighbors should have to pay for that. Everybody has to follow rules. As Mr. McCormick said, the laws are there. And yeah, I just want to let it known that this is really disruptive. And I don't believe that just because they want to come here and say they're sorry that they didn't do it for this or apply for this zoning. I mean, laws are here to be followed and you can't just say you didn't know it, but I just want to leave my 2 cents for that.
All right, thank you. John, you're next.
Thank you so much. So I'm John Seek. I'm a resident nearby. I was also in the block club meeting where this was originally reviewed and proposed to the neighborhood. The neighborhood did give a recommendation for it to Councilman McCormick at the time. The initial owner was going to use it as a storage and I think home office, which might explain the balcony and the cabinetry. We specifically asked if it was ever going to be used as another residence, and they said no at the time. I think part of our recommendation was based on that that commitment from that previous owner. Since then, it has changed hands, but the neighborhood did not really want that approval for the second residence behind that house.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Trimble.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Ben Trimble, Chief Real Estate Officer of Ohio City Incorporated. We're also here to oppose the variance that is proposed for you today. This property is an illegal Airbnb that has been used that way since this owner has purchased it. I don't actually know that there is even a path to legalize it as an Airbnb because it's owned in an LLC, and I believe that the city's law actually forbids the use as a full-time Airbnb when an LLC or when a property is owned by an LLC. Our board has actually had such an issue with illegal Airbnbs in our neighborhood that we actually passed a resolution against them actually last year. They not only drive up housing costs and take away affordable units, but frankly, just because of it's not there are no particularly great enforcement methods to deal with them. And this one, we've had a number of different complaints from neighbors about, loud parties and things happening there. So it is an illegal use. We ask the board to deny this variance today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, city planning.
Madam Chair, I would like to have Mr. Riccardi ask him a question about the variances here, and if now that it is evident that this is an Airbnb, is there anything in the zoning code that could be that just could be adjudicated against, so that it is actually a variance that we're looking at today? Because right now we're not looking at any variances for an Airbnb. We're only looking at variances related to adding an accessory dwelling unit, which, as you know, we do all the time, and actually are very supportive of accessory dwelling units, especially in a two-family district. But I completely understand the neighbors' concerns about an Airbnb in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to confirm with Mr. Riccardi about the zoning aspects of this.
This is Richard Riccardi. Well, I couldn't do a complete analysis based on the limited lodging section that's in the zoning code because it wasn't requested here, so that analysis wasn't done. But I think what the neighbors and the councilmen are getting at is that you are not permitted to have an Airbnb as a full-time operation, 365 days a year. I believe it's limited to 90 days, or there's a time period. In any event, that's a regulation, and that's a term of enforcement when someone is running an Airbnb. It hasn't been asked to be an Airbnb or to be a full-time Airbnb. So basically, the councilman and the neighbors are correct. If it is being used as that, it is being used illegally. Thanks.
This is Mike Clifford. Can I speak on my behalf of, I'm the owner of this house?
Are you sworn in?
I was sworn in, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I hear every concerns. I want to state on the record that it is, I am registered with the city and the county as an Airbnb. I do pay my lodging taxes. I professionally screen all the guests. We haven't had any issues that I'm aware of. The neighbors directly to my west are in full support. They love the house. They love what's going on. I just I am running. I'm not running illegally. I'm registered with the county and with the city. I pay my taxes on time. And I just wanted to say that, I screen the guests. We have noise monitors. We're just really hosting to. It's a high-end Airbnb. It's good customers. They're good clients that we're bringing in. They're good guests. We're not allowing local residents to come have a party house, like people from Cleveland, who are only catering to people from out of town. And this extra garage was, we bought this to extend to have, to have a bigger space. From my understanding, it was already approved as I guess it's just as a garage. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to work with everybody. Like, this isn't something where it's going to be actually enhance the community. Like, we have, it's a great looking house. And we have great guests. So I'd like to work with everybody to try to come up with a solution here rather than trying to stop what's going on there.
Madam Chair, I would like to call your attention to the fact that Mr. Riccardi has raised his hand again.
Okay, Mr. Riccardi?
Yes, I just want to say, you can be registered as a Airbnb or short-term rental with the city, with the county, with any agency, but it's a matter of following the regulations within that registration. One of those regulations is that you can't use any unit as an Airbnb for more than 91 days in a calendar year. So you get to use it 3 months as an Airbnb, and that's it. That's the limit. There's also a provision that the owner also has to live there as a primary residence. So basically what I'm saying is that it's the regulations, not just the registration, that the councilman and the surrounding neighbors seem to be bringing up here in this request for a variance. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Riccardi. Maurice, does that help clear it up? Because it really doesn't for me, because I'm still looking at, I understand that, you know, he's running this Airbnb, probably doesn't live there, but, you know, we're looking at making this an accessory dwelling place. You know, these are the two variances that are before us, and can we really look at it as being an Airbnb when it's not a variance? So that's kind of where I am. So I need some guidance.
You know, and I think I'm also just as confused as you are with this. You know, as I said, the city has no problem with granting the variance for the accessory dwelling unit, you know, in this location, if that was the extent of it. And I think what Mr. Riccardi is saying is that because we're not written up for that variance right now, and I believe Mr. Riccardi also had stated in discussions that we had previously that the city actually doesn't offer a C of O for an Airbnb. Is that correct, Mr. Riccardi?
That's right. That's correct.
So this is more, from what I think he's saying, this is more of an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know that this is the correct forum to stop this from being an Airbnb. I think it would be more that they would be written up for violations that they're not following the code for chapter 337.251, which is limited lodging in residential districts, which is, I believe, what this call falls under. I will also point out that there has been new legislation introduced to put further restrictions on limited lodging facilities and rewrite the code for that. I believe actually Councilman McCormick is one of the sponsors of that legislation that's moving through council now. That kind of muddies the water a little bit, sorry, but that's where we're headed with this. So I personally think that you should be voting on the variances that are before you today.
Yeah, I was leaning toward that, but I was, you know, I didn't want to discount, you know, everyone's testimony about the Airbnb, but unfortunately that's not on any of the variances that are before us today. And so what's before us today is the accessory use. So
and we
go ahead, Maurice, I'm sorry.
could try for a postponement to see if we could work out more details on this. I'm not sure if that would help, but that's something else we could do. The owner is raising his hand.
Yeah, I'm not sure that'll help either. Go ahead, Mr. Clifford.
Yeah, I just wanted to say also, like, if we vote on the zoning for the variance, like, I could set it up as my office, you know, and use it. If we could get get working on it, I could just put my office there if that would make the community happier that I'm there on site every day. And I just want to build the garage out, so we know we have this structure that that we need to build out to make to increase the value of the property and everything else there. And if we could get that approved, then we could build it out. I could set my office up there if that would make the community happier.
Madam Chair, we do have two more hands raised. I'm not sure who's doing it right now. We have Mark Ray, and Councilman McCormick's hand is still up. I'm not sure if that was him raising it again.
I don't think he lowered it, but
No, I
Councilman?
would like to speak again if I may,
Oh,
Madam
okay.
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll take your direction on that.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Madam Chair, again, I would just, and I understand the conversation around what the board is voting on, but I would ask the question, I mean, the variances that are in front of you are to erect a single-family residence and attached three-car garage in the rear of a parcel. It's clear that this is not a residence, nor will it be used as a residence, which is defined in the zoning code. So I wonder if that does weigh in on your deliberation. You're being asked to provide a variance for a residence, a single family residence, and it's clear that this is being used as a commercial entity.
Yeah, but we already approved it in 2021 to erect the garage. The issue is that they put the accessory use on top of it. So if he doesn't, if he uses it as an office, we're kind of like our hands are tied. So that's where we're at because this was already approved in 2021.
Understood, Madam Chair. I'm just saying that this was approved as a storage unit, not as a residence. They're asking for you to provide a variance to establish a residence when it is clear that that is not currently the use, nor is it the intent of the future use. That's all I'm saying.
Madam Chair, we have Mr. Riccardi with his hand raised. Again, I think the councilman makes a good point. If nothing else, this write-up is incorrect because it does say to erect the garage. The garage has already been erected. That was approved. He is correct with all of that. It just was not approved as a residence. It was approved as a storage area.
Right, correct.
And I guess there is a question as to whether they're not actually asking it for a residence. They're asking for it to be approved as an Airbnb. Mr. Riccardi also had his hand raised.
Yep, go ahead, Mr. Riccardi.
I just want to state that if the owner is not living on the premises, an office use is not permitted in a non-resident office use is not permitted in a residence district either. So that's a whole nother use variance. That doesn't correct it by making it a non-residence office.
Madam Chair, to Mr. Riccardi, I guess my next question would be, should this be revised to so that the variances that they're requesting are to establish limited lodging in the accessory dwelling unit?
We have responded to what the resident and what the application has asked for. If the applicant wants to amend what he's asking for, we can amend the zoning review. But as it states now, we've responded to what was on the application. So it's not a matter of it's not a matter of the notice of nonconformance being revised or corrected. It's a matter of the applicant being frank about what they're going to do there.
Madam Chair?
With that being said, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Well, I strongly advise that the applicant withdraw this at this time.
Well, that wasn't what me going with. With that being said, maybe a postponement is due or withdraw because I think the write-up needs to be correct for one, and he needs to be upfront and honest about what's going to be going on in this residence.
Yeah, postponement would not do if it comes back to us in the same format.
Madam Chair, I am in agreement with Ms. Brown on this. I think the write-up doesn't reflect what the actual use is. It seems that the owner hasn't been really forthcoming with their use and perhaps doesn't understand the limitations of the use of the building. I'm struck by the fact that usually in this neighborhood, there's a pretty extensive process of going through the CDC and the neighbor review board and things of that nature. We've got pretty adamant opposal by the council person and Mr. Trimble representing the CDC at this point. So it seems to me that this needs to go through some more processes and be corrected and make sure that the owner understands his restrictions and does his best to be compliant with them. And that we need to be approving variances that reflect, that are correctly reflected in the write-up.
Madam Chair, I agree. I don't think we can render a decision on a write-up that is incorrect, and we do not have the accurate set of facts before us. So I agree with the two previous board members who stated their views.
Okay, so Mr. Clifford, you have two choices because we can't actually force you to withdraw your application. However, as a board, you know, we're giving you a little counsel here on whether you want to withdraw and then bring it back to what you actually want to do with this residence, or we can move forward today on what we have in front of us, but it's not looking good for you. So it's your decision on what you want to do here.
Yeah, so I appreciate everybody's comments and feedback. I do want everyone to know that, like, it's not that I'm not being forthcoming or trying to. I'm being 100% honest on what our plans are, and I'd like to work with whatever I'm allowed to do there. So, and the community, you know, like I want everyone to be in support of this and to work together. That being said, I had no idea what this hearing was going to be about or what's going to happen here. I would like the opportunity to seek some counsel and get some help here as far as how we can make this work. Ultimately, I just want to make the property a nicer property, whether it's a second home or an office for me, or an Airbnb, or even a long-term rental. I have someone that's actually considering taking the whole property for a year, and I'll know that within the week. So I would like the opportunity to, I guess, postpone or do I withdraw and then come back? Is that what you suggested?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think your best bet is to withdraw and then reapply with what exactly you want to do there. And then it will be reviewed by Building and Housing by what you actually want to do. And so it might not have to come back here. You know, we don't know. So I think that's your best bet.
Okay.
So just officially ask us for a withdrawal.
Okay. Well, I officially asked for withdrawal.
All right. Without objection, board?
Without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
And Madam Chair,
Right, so
I'm
so
sorry
think
to interrupt.
about.
I
Oh,
just
I'm sorry.
want to
Go ahead.
urge Mr. Clifford to partner with the CDC, get in touch with Mr. Trimble and work through the CDC, and they will help him process through what he needs to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Agreed. So his name is Ben Trimble, or, you know, just call Ohio City Inc. and start working with them so you can figure out how best to use your property.
I appreciate it very much, you guys. Thank you so much for your help.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, next case.
Our next case is calendar number 22-208. This is at 2458 Tremont Avenue. Michael Clements and Benjamin Wally propose to erect a 3-story frame wooden front porch to an existing 3-family residence in a C1 multifamily residential district. The owners appeal for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
I do. Michael Clements, 2458 Tremont Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
I do. Benjamin Wally, 2458 Tremont Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
I do. Donna Gregonis, Tremont West Development Corporation, 2406 Professor Avenue.
Anyone else? Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we only found that in 1938, a permit was issued to enlarge a basement on site. And 1981, a permit was issued to repair fire damage. And then, Madam Chair, in 2019, a permit was applied for to change use from 2-family to 3-family. The status of that is stating open at this time. And that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the interior yard setback and open front yard porch regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Who will be the spokesperson for this case?
I will.
You are.
Michael Clements, owner
All
of
right,
the
Mr.
property.
Clemens, go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Good morning. So we actually met with the board back in 2019 on this property. We're not complete with the project yet. Me and Ben are the main renovators of this. We live in the little house behind the 2458 house. They're on the same parcel. And we are doing the renovations ourselves in our spare time. So it's gone a little slow, but back in 2019, with the change from a 2-family to a 3-family, we were required to provide off-street parking for all 5 units, with there being 2 units in the back and then now 3 in the front. So at that point, we pretty much have had to eliminate all the green space on the property. So when it came time to redesign the new front porch, there was a 2-story porch there prior to the demo. We thought through how we could make it nice for the tenants, give them some outdoor space, and through research of spacing around tables and outdoor furniture, we came up with the depth of the porch being the 10'5". And that has caused us to be in violation of a couple zoning setbacks, offsets, and such. So we are here today to ask for variance on that.
Okay, thank you. Does your partner want to add anything?
Well, we actually didn't send in any of the presentation materials. I don't know, Michael, are we able to project if we don't have the materials part of your presentation? Because we do have just one picture kind of showing our property in reference to the existing properties and neighboring properties, just for reference from setback of the sidewalk.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't clear on the submission process for the last time we were in person when we did this. But I do have some materials I could share up on the screen if that's.
I don't think screen sharing is allowed. So I think we can get a good idea from the angle at the bottom here.
Elizabeth, are you running the screen?
No, that's Maurice Rollins.
Okay. We have a pretty good rendering of the porch on the front of the house.
If you want to email it to me real quick, I can pop it up for you.
That would be great. Sorry about this.
Sure.
I
No problem.
apologize.
Not a problem.
While that's going on, we'll hear from Ms. Bergonis.
What was your email?
You can just send it to Board of Zoning Appeals, all one word, at clevelandohio.gov, and I'll receive it.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I guess I haven't seen this project, come through our process at all, and I'm not sure that I don't think that it went to the block club, but it does seem sort of straightforward. I am a little apprehensive about saying anything, whether it's pro or con the project, because I haven't seen the renderings and I don't know what the full scope is. And I've never heard that this has been a nuisance property. So I think that's probably a thing that works in their benefit. But again, I can't speak for the community or the Economic Development Committee at the moment because I don't know the full scope of the project. If that's helpful or not. But if it's straightforward, hopefully.
Yeah, I was gonna say a front porch has to go to the Economic Development Committee.
I don't think so. And again, that if it's just the front porch, I believe that it might be something that could fly. But again, I don't want to speak for the board.
No,
or
I
our committee.
understand, but I was gonna say that was a lot of review for a front porch. Okay.
I
So,
understand. It does seem straightforward though, assuming that the renderings are pretty standard and go with the rest of the neighborhood.
okay, great.
I did send the, I don't know if they came through yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Liz?
since we had a moment, the applicant mentioned a variance. I was able to go back into our system just now, and I did find that there was a variance in 2019 that was granted to convert from a 2-family to a 3-family and establish 5 parking spaces. At that time, no objections were raised, and City Planning Commission supported it. And that's all that I have. I apologize that we missed that in our research.
In what case number was that?
Give me 1 second. Calendar 19-246.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, to Ms. Kukla, were there any conditions on that variance?
No, no
Okay.
conditions.
I was just thinking that this may have been the one that we had asked for permeable parking space, and I see that this is just a concrete pad. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do see there was an access easement agreement that was mentioned. There's a shared driveway situation, but I don't think that's really relevant.
I don't have anything yet. I did. I put in my chat, Michael, to what my actual email address is. If you want to send it to that one too, just for some reason it didn't come through.
Yeah, I had the wrong address. I left out the D in Cleveland, but I resent it. So.
It's a long email address.
But I'll also forward it to you.
There it is.
Okay, came
Mr.
through?
Just came.
Mr. Riccardi, you have your hand up, or has that just been up from before?
Sorry, that was from before.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it'll just take me a second to save these. Actually, these are very helpful.
I also sent one more document where we kind of went through all the setbacks that we were for all our neighbors on the street. Just kind of shows where everything's at.
Ah, okay, yeah. And you said this, yeah, I can tell from what you took off the front. So this was kind of there on the older house and you took down the porches, but now you're putting them back essentially.
Correct.
Yeah, they were in pretty bad shape. So
Yeah.
we took them down during the demo phase.
And you're adding the 3rd floor, which probably was not there, correct?
That's correct.
Which the second floor did have a covered roof. So effectively, it's, you know, it's more or less the same height, but just instead of having a covered porch on the 2nd story, now we have an open air porch on the 3rd story, which obviously serves to access the 3rd story unit.
Madam Chair, to the appellants, could you tell us what the difference is in the depth of the porch that you demoed and the one that you're proposing?
Yeah, the the previous porch was around 6 foot depth. But then the stairs did stick out another 4 feet out the front. If you notice how we designed this one, we have the stairs inset.
Right.
You could see it more on the little more angled view.
And actually,
The other
I
rendering.
think the existing porch in total was closer to 7 feet, but there were some columns that were rather large. So the usable portion of the porch was just 6 feet, but total protrusion from the front of the house, I believe, was close to 7.
Okay, great. And then the steps out, then the steps projected beyond that, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And so this is kind of what we took a look at. We looked at the neighbors to the southeast and measured from the sidewalk to the front of either their porches or the existing structure. And you can see there, most of them are right around 5 foot, and we're proposing 5 feet. So that was sort of our benchmark to make sure that we're in line and, maintain a consistent look at the neighborhood. So we're not sticking out right up on the street, which if you've ever been in the Tremont neighborhood, there are houses that are, 6 inches
Right.
from the street. So we wanted to provide uniformity there for sure. But also giving the, maximum potential outdoor space for ourselves and any future residents.
Are those front windows on the third floor large enough to be egress windows as well, or did you put in like some sort of French door or slider or something?
Yeah, it's a sliding door.
Sliding? Okay,
Yep.
great. So it also serves as egress then. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
That's my questions.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, before we get started, I'll just let you guys know that there's a very large cement truck outside of my house. So if you hear a lot of banging and noise, it's me, and I apologize for that. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Roca.
Madam Chair, I think my question is to Mr. Rulins. Is the third story portion of the porch within code?
They have not been, Madam Chair, to Ms. Roca, I believe it is. They were not cited for the third story portion of the, for the porch. In like what respect are you asking?
I just wanted to make sure that there's no variance needed for them to add that third story.
Not that I know of. Mr. Riccardi could probably chime in on that, but they weren't written up for it, and they did ask for the three-story porch in their request, in their building permit application. So it was reviewed that way by building and housing staff. So I don't believe there is a
Thank you
variance
for
for it.
confirming. I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the review as well.
Okay, board, any other questions? So Maurice, did you want to chime in officially for city planning?
Yeah.
Or?
Sure. Yeah. As maybe some of the members don't know, but there used to be the code used to require less deep porches. Just a few years back, actually, I believe we changed the code in 2019 and expanded it, I believe, from 6 feet to 8 feet. So obviously, the City Planning Commission feels that front porches are a tremendous asset to most neighborhoods. They just provide so many different things. Eyes on the street. They're just great features for neighborhoods. And in this case, it does go 2 feet beyond. I do think that the fact that they are still 5 feet from the inside edge of the sidewalk is very important. So there is some distance between the front of the porch and the sidewalk. They're not right up against the sidewalk. And I will say that these new drawings that were submitted just now are very helpful in showing that. I also want to point out that like most of the streets in Tremont, this is a very eclectic street. There's all kinds of architecture. There's all kinds of setbacks because, these are older structures where some of them were built before the zoning code. So the fact that it jogs in and out, I think that this porch will fit in just fine with the rest of the neighborhood. So we recommend approval.
Great, thanks, Maurice. All right, or if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, we've seen the renderings that the appellants have sent in. So thanks for doing that. So Mr. Walensky, get on the screen for us. And in reviewing those, we've asked a number of questions and excuse me. And city planning has weighed in on this with their support. So I move that we go ahead and approve calendar number 22-208.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
Ms. Holster with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Brett.
Yes.
Under 22-208.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next case.
Madam Chair, do we still have Councilman? We still have Councilman
do.
McCormick. Did you want to skip to the last case because he is still online, which is his case?
Yeah, we can. Is that the
2915 Detroit.
That is two cases, isn't it, Mr. Rulins?
Yes,
At that address.
they're pretty much can be viewed together,
Yeah.
similar to the earlier case today.
Okay.
Chair, if it's all the
Yes.
same, this, there may be extensive testimony on these two. We may want to take this last
Yeah, that's
case.
why yeah, I think that's correct. We need to get this one out the way and then we also, I believe we'll have recusals for the last one too. So I think doing this last is the best.
That's why I asked.
All right. So go ahead and read this
So
one.
let me move back on the.
Yeah.
We're going back to
Yeah.
22-210. Okay.
Yes.
Our next case is calendar number 22-210. This is at 3733 East 65th Street. Ran Romano, owner, proposes to correct condemnation and establish 7 residential units, 2 commercial retail units, and 1 coffee shop in a B1 local retail business. The owner appeals, or business district, I apologize. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address.
I do. Marilyn Moshinsky, Slavic Village Development, 5620 Broadway Avenue.
I do. Nicole Calhoun, City Planning Commission, 601 Lakeside, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114.
Anyone else? Mr. Romano, are you going to swear in and speak?
Your hand raised.
1 second, Madam Chair. We have him set up in our office here on a computer. We
Well,
need
they're
to
on mute.
unmute him. He's gonna have to. Give us 1 second. Hold on. Raise your right hand and
What I'm
be
supposed to
sworn in
say
right
is
now.
I don't have,
Raise your right hand. Do you
Yeah.
swear to tell the truth?
tell the truth.
And say your name and address, please.
It's not what we're
What's your name
talking.
and address, sir?
Ron Romano, 3733, the building address or my address?
Your address.
32 Mapledale Avenue, Bedford, Ohio.
Thank you.
That's
Hello?
not what we're talking.
All right, give me one moment.
Hello?
I'm gonna read the history.
One more?
Anybody else for this case?
Yes, Bill Merriman, Church Avenue.
Mr. Merriman, this is for 65th Street. Do you want to testify for this?
No, 2915 Detroit. I was instructed
Yeah.
to log in.
Yeah, we're not doing that case just yet, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call back.
Okay, history to, well, I think we've heard this a few times, but go ahead, Liz.
Yes, Madam Chair, just briefly. It was originally zoned general retail, and then 2007, it was placed in local retail business. Our records administration office show that this building was constructed in 1914 as a two-story stores and tenement building. As you may remember that in calendar, or that in last year, in December of 2021, the applicant applied for a variance for mixed use with 9 parking spaces. We went through several meetings with this applicant and found that there were things that needed to be worked out with the community. And so he withdrew ultimately, and so now he has applied again. At this point, things have changed with his parking situation, and he is here to explain what's happened there, and the variances otherwise are very similar. And that's all that I have. Oh, and again, Madam Chair, this is to correct a condemnation that was issued in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. So who's going to be a spokesperson? Mr. Romano?
It's the building 373365. We do the blueprint with the architect about 3.5 years ago, and we've been the Zoom for everything. We have the duplex near the building, and the building need to sign agreement of the parking, but she not agree to sell the property, and she not agree to sign the paper. It's a 3 partner together. I talked to him the last 5 months, 4 months, every day. She not agree to sell it for double price, and she not agree to sign, because to go to my parking, it's need to go from her side, the concrete from the side of the duplex near the building, because the driveway is like together between the building and the duplex. But she not agree to go up, and she not agree to sell the property or to sell it double price. I tell her the money is not the issue, but she not agree to sell it. She say it's about 3 partner, and 2 partner from the 3 not agree to sell the property.
So, Mr. Romano, because of that, are you saying you have no access to your parking lot now without
Yes.
her?
Sorry,
Okay.
my English is not the best. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so go ahead. Tell me what you want to
Yeah,
do
this
here.
one, when you,
Sorry, which?
yeah, do it.
Oh, they're not going to see your
This one
URL.
is about, how you said, too close to the driveway? To go inside to the driveway, it's from this side. Yeah, exactly. And because it go from her side, from the duplex, she not agreed to sign the agreement, because the last owner is signed to me, but they sell the property and don't tell me and don't ask me if I want to buy. And it's very upset, but I cannot go inside to the driveway if I don't go from the side of the duplex. So I don't have a parking.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
I have
So,
another yard across the street. It's for Land Bank of Cleveland. I've been there before like 3 months. I talk to him, I fill all the paper and tell me you are not approved because it's only yards for the new construction. You cannot buy it and do it the parking. I have the address if you need. It's
But you don't have an agreement with them yet, right?
they are not agreed. They want only new construction. They're not agree for the parking.
So that's irrelevant.
Okay.
Okay, and so, Liz and or Maurice, so the use is not what's in question, it's the parking is the issue now?
That is correct, Madam Chair, and I guess I can go ahead and explain this a little bit further. I don't know if you could see my mouse on the cursor. It's the yellow line is his property line, and he's in a very unique situation where
Yeah, I
these
see.
6 or 7 parking lots or parking slots behind his building, he cannot access them. If he were to build a new curb cut here through this grassed area, it would not be able to. He'd have to reconfigure the parking lot, and he'd probably only get 1 or 2 spots. So it really makes no sense to do that. So it does make sense to try to move forward here and get this building renovated and occupied to move as opposed to having a vacant derelict building. I will say that the last time I was out there taking the photographs, which was just a couple of weeks ago, there's been a lot of vandalism on the building. A lot of the front storefront windows have been broken into, and I'm sure that's because the building has sat vacant for so long, and now it's starting to experience that kind of vandalism, which I think is a really bad thing. So anyway, hopefully that clears it up.
I can say something about the
yes,
building?
go ahead.
Yes, I'm go to the building every week, and I want to fix everything from A to Z like perfect with the permit, and I have all the money for this, and I wait for this and excited to do it like 3 years. And I know people try to go inside and block everything, but I promise and I signed, I fix everything from A to Z perfect, and have a lot of parking in Sebert Avenue, and the 665 is the street is a lot of parking. So I want to fix it, and I don't want to sell it. I want to fix it and keep it. So to do it perfect and do it from A to Z by the code.
All right, thank you, Mr. Romano. Ms. Mozinski from Slavic Village.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. Yes, we've been working with Mr. Romano for this past time, trying to figure out this whole situation, and we agree. We're fine with giving him relief for the variance. We can work with him. There is on-street parking. I think he'll be able to work with. We can also see if we can get maybe an agreement with either the Buy Right, which is across the street a little north of his, and then also on 65th, we can see about another parking space. But I think he'll be fine with the amount of people that he'll be using for the storefront. So we're in support of this variance, supporting the variance.
Great, thank you. All right, Ms. Calhoun, you wanted to chime in here?
Sure. First, I want to thank Mr. Romano for his diligence. He's been through a lot with this property,
Yes, we
trying to
all
get
have.
it together. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. I am very concerned with because I know this is something that is really dear to him. My concern is that this is a wonderful building that I think he can really do a great job with. I think it should not be just held to the storefront. There are apartments above it that I think he should be eligible to reconstruct, like you said, from A to Z, and to actually build the neighborhood up with some residents as well. So what I would ask is that that you all would consider opening the whole building and not just the storefront part of the building, and to approve the parking variances, even if there's when he finishes the entire building for residents. I really support this project. He has went through a lot to try to get everything done and try to get everything taken care of. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I believe it's written up that way though, isn't it? It's written up for the residential and the commercial and everything.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I was going to point out. So he's getting getting access to everything: the residential units, the commercial units, everything. Just a variance for all parking for that building.
Great. All right, board, any questions or comments?
Hearing no questions or comments, Madam Chair, I'll move forward. I'm glad to see the CDC is very involved in this at this level. I am in agreement with Ms. Calhoun that the appellant has been through a lot trying to move this project forward. We've seen him on several occasions, and I'm glad to see that he's being represented well and that everyone is trying to help him along. So with that being said, and as noted, the variance is for both residential and commercial units and his coffee shop. And we understand the constraints of the lot. And it's, as Mr. Brulin's pointed out, if he went through the vacant area on the lot to access the parking pad in the back, he would essentially lose the majority of the parking. So with all that being said, I move that we go ahead and approve calendar number 22-210.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Roca seconds.
Ms. Roca with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Bates,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-210 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday, and then we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, Mr. Romano.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
We look forward to seeing this come to fruition, sir.
Do we have any other cases before this one?
That's it, Madam Chair.
All right.
This is the Carrie McCormick show today.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
All
Madam
right.
Chair,
So,
Madam Chair,
yes.
for those of us who are recused or recusing ourselves, when would you like that stated for the court reporter?
Right now, because you got to go.
All right. Board Member Roca is recused from this 22-188 and the other one. I don't know what that is. Hold on.
172.
172.
Thank you. Thank you. From
You're
both.
welcome.
All right,
Madam
thank
Chair,
you.
because I'm one of the recusals as well, do you want me to read the cases in or do you want me to recuse myself now?
No, recuse yourself. We'll handle the rest.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
read the case.
Board Member Holzer recuses herself from calendar number 22-188 and 22-172.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Faith, can you read them in the record, please?
Sure. These cases were both postponed from November 14th, 2022 due to a lack of quorum. Calendar number 22-188 and calendar number 22-172, both at 2915 Detroit Avenue. 2915 Detroit Avenue LLC proposes to change use from factory to office, cafe, yoga studio, and bicycle spin studio in a D3 local business district and pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the section 349.04C of Cleveland Codified Ordinances, which states that 44 parking spaces are required and none are proposed. There was no testimony taken on that. On calendar number 22-172, also 349.4, which states that accessory off-street parking is required at a rate of 1 per each employee and +1 for each 100 square feet of floor area devoted to patron use and 1 for each 4 seats based on maximum seating capacity, whichever is greater. In this case, 12 parking spaces are required per section 343.23. Those parenthetically I, those properties located in the pedestrian retail overlay district, required parking will be reduced by 1/3. Therefore, 8 accessory off-street parking spaces are required. None are provided. This was again postponed from August 13th and November 14th. With that, I'll
Login request.
pass it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Swearing in all who are present for this case, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
And because we have a lot of people, please go slow with your name and your address and give people time to chime in so that everyone's not talking over each other. All right, go ahead.
Bill Merriman, 3011 Church Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Kevin Oliver, 7100 Euclid Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
William J. Kurtz, Architects, 10803 Magnolia Drive, Cleveland, Ohio.
Karen Desitel, 3704 Clinton Avenue.
Richard Barga, 3808 Clinton Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Julie Steigerwald, 4302 Clinton Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Steigerwald.
Antonia Marinucci, 4308 Clinton Avenue, Cleveland.
Celine Shank, 3901 Franklin Boulevard.
Ben Trimble, Chief Real Estate Officer, Ohio City Incorporated, 3308 Lorraine Avenue.
Ann Hartnett, owner 2915 Detroit Ave LLC, 2915 Detroit Ave, Cleveland, Ohio.
Marie Artali, owner of Patron Saint LLC, 2915 Detroit Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113.
Can you spell your name, please?
Sure. Artale.
Yolanda Rosenthal Green, owner of Soul Yoga OHC, address 4833 West 13th Street.
Andy Hartnett, Groundswell Construction, 4719 Clinton Avenue.
Okay, anyone else? Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please. Properties.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929, and then in 2014, it was changed to local retail business and placed in the pedestrian retail overlay district. There was little information in our records administration office. We found that in 1910, a permit was issued to alter storefront in the property. Then in 1963, a permit was issued to repair a machine shop on site. And then in the more recent history, Madam Chair, we see that there are interior alterations and that in 2007, a permit was issued for exterior alterations to the facade with approval from the Landmarks Commission. And Madam Chair, I believe that is it that is relevant. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
For both cases, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. So before call on people to speak. We have some ground rules here. There's a lot of people that have signed up to speak, so you don't get an unlimited time to speak. Please keep your comments to just the zoning variances that are requested here. We don't want to hear anyone's personal information, anybody's vendetta against anyone else. 50 years of history of the neighborhood, like we don't need any of that. Please keep your comments to the variances that are before us today. And if I feel like you're going too long or if you're getting personal, I will cut you off. I'm just letting you know now. We want to keep this a very respectful arena so that everyone can be heard. So with that being said, who will be the spokesperson for this case?
Yes, I would like to make an opening statement.
Are you part of the project team?
Yeah, I'm the architect, one of the architects.
Okay, and what's your name?
William Afline.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Afline.
Well, good morning. My name's Bill Afline.
Okay, Bill.
I'm one of the architects. I've been working with the building owner, Ann Harnett. Building is on the National Registry of Historic Buildings. It's known as the Vitrolite Building, built in 1926. The building's facade represents one of the small groups of surviving glazed terracotta buildings and one of the only Italianate Venetian Palazzo style facades in Cleveland. The building currently sits empty and is in need of considerable capital investment to bring it back to life, of which the owner is willing to make. It was developed and built as an infill, retail, showroom, office, factory building without any off-street parking. Therefore, doesn't meet the current requirements, the current zoning codes. And Ann, the owner, is here today asking for a variance due to this fairly common hardship with these types of buildings without parking. We have met with the Landmark Commission and they approved our vision to maintain and improve the architectural significance of this building. It is on a major transit corridor, Detroit Avenue, and lies in the very walkable neighborhood of Hingetown. We feel that the neighborhood consists of similar buildings that do not have parking either, and the project maintains a desirable density and provides uses that help serve the neighborhood as well as enhance them. I'd also like to, the owner, Ann Harnett, would like to speak to the parking.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, my name's Ann Harnett. I'm the owner of the Vitrolite Building, working with my business owners as well as my team to bring this project to life. I want to speak to our proposed alternatives to the parking requirements. This, based on the future use of this building, code requires 44 spots. At this time, we're just executing phase 1 of the project, which is Harness Cycle, also my business, Soul Yoga, a yoga studio owned by Yolanda Rosenthal Green, and Patron Saint, a cafe owned by Marie Artali. We worked together to determine that the sum of our businesses will need 24 throughout the day, not at the same time spots at our peak usage. I've been an operator in this neighborhood for nearly 10 years, right next door at 2901 Detroit Ave. And so I have firsthand experience knowing that a lot of our patrons are directly from the neighborhood. We strive to create a service predominantly that's a neighborhood amenity. So we see truly a lot of clients coming by foot, also cycling if they're a bit further. In the past, we have started conversations with RTA to provide transit passes for our employees. We are right on a main thoroughway for the RTA bus route on Detroit Avenue. In addition to shared parking on street, we've talked to the Block Club about requesting that our customers do not park on Church Avenue, so that can be encouraged to be left for residents. Of course, that can't really be enforced, but we'll do our best to encourage that. There's a fair amount of street parking on Detroit Avenue, as well as two readily available directly across the street parking garage. Well, there's a parking lot at Transformer Station that is a rate of $1.50 a half hour, so a really affordable paid parking lot, as well as the Church and State paid parking garage, which is also just a block on the same block. That's slightly more per hour, but again, a really affordable rate of about $3 per hour. I would just also like to comment that we have worked with neighboring extended commercial lots when we feel that we're hosting events or there would be an influx of participation from outside of the neighborhood. If it was such as a grand opening or a larger event, we have partnerships with several of the lots that would provide hundreds of spots. While not in the immediate block, they are no more than 3 blocks from our building. As not only a business owner of this project, but also a resident, I understand the concerns of the neighborhood and really commit to creating solutions in advance so that this doesn't create an influx of strain on the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the project team need to speak? Okay, hearing none, I will start with in order of the swearing. So Mr. Merriman, go ahead.
Yes, Bill Merriman, 3011 Church. Excuse me. I've lived on the street for over 50 years, raised my family there, and with my boys, we own 4 buildings, total of 8 rental units, and probably as many cars. Many of the residents in our units have had to park at the end of Church Avenue, down on 32nd Street, and even around the corner on Clinton Avenue under the current load of demand for parking. I'm really concerned that when things really get any warmer in terms of business, there just won't be any place at all. If my tenants return from work in the early afternoon, or especially at the beginning of the week, it's not so much of an issue, but at the end of the week, it's really quite challenging. We had a presentation by the developer of the hangar cluster of Quonset huts at 28th and Church Avenue. When he made his presentation, he acknowledged that he was getting in without any off-street parking. And he said that's actually a good thing because when, to paraphrase what he said, to have to park 3 blocks away, 2 or 3 blocks away from the hangars would give the potential customers an opportunity to shop at the other businesses along the way. He himself was anticipating as a businessman that there would not be enough parking and that it would be a good thing. Whereas if you live in the neighborhood, to have to park 2 streets away from your house, especially at 10 o'clock at night, is not a good thing. There had been additional parking on Detroit Avenue until just recently, but the city traffic permitted the north side of Detroit Avenue from 29th down towards 45th Street to develop a bike lane. Previous businesses on the street at one time counted on having all of those parking spaces available, and now it's denied of them. So I'm really concerned for the safety of the residents in our buildings, especially the women coming home late at night from working in shelters and other facilities like that, exposing themselves to danger coming in the darkness of the night and having to come from the next street over to do so. I appreciate Ann and all she's done. We're really excited for her business, but I think we've got to solve a problem here. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Merriman. Mr. Oliver? You want to chime in?
I may have mistakenly raised my hand. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, Mr. Kurtz? Going once? One twice. All right. Next we have Karen.
Good morning. My name is Karen Desatel. I live at 3704 Clinton Avenue, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this issue today. And my apologies for not having my camera working. First, I'd like to thank Ann Hartnett for all her efforts to address the parking needs that this project is bringing to the table. However, my comments today are to the board, and they're to address the impact of parking variances granted in the neighborhood. The growth of the new businesses and residents in the area has had an impact on the neighborhood and the ability to meet current parking demands. Residents in this area of Ohio City have been asking for assistance on finding solutions to address the growing demands for parking needs. And some of that demand is the result of the cumulative effects of previous parking variances. I'm asking the Board of Zoning Appeals to adhere to the city code that requires businesses to provide adequate parking for their staff and customers, as well as that the parking variances granted not have an adverse effect on the traffic conditions or the neighborhood. I'm asking board members to give the concerns of the residents of the neighborhood consideration when making your determinations on this and any future parking variance requests applied for in this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berger.
Good morning. Apologies. My voice is a little sore. Getting over the flu. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak as well. I am in support of this variance. I sent a letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals or an email outlining some of my statements, and not to rehash everything, but I think that this the support for this variance is tantamount to the vision and the future of what we are trying to build in the city. We live in an urban center and a neighborhood within a major metropolitan area. And while I think perceived parking stress may have been a critical issue, the values of creating a sustainable and socially connected city must not be abandoned. The removal of these parking requirements will help encourage walkable environments, which will result in beneficial social, economic, and environmental activities. I have walked this property. I have read the notes from the block club. I live on Clinton Avenue, and I've been very impressed with this female small business owner who has chosen to grow her business in our community, double down in terms of buying her own property, and hearing the concerns of the block club has provided, in my opinion, extremely adequate solutions and options for patrons and for residents. As was noted, there is a public parking garage and a public parking lot literally within one block of the subject property. And so there, it's going above and beyond for her to sell RTA bus passes, plans to install bike racks, and other ways that she's encouraging her patrons to come to her business. I think it is highly inequitable and undeserved to push a neighborhood agenda onto a small female business owner. And I hope that the leaders of this board will continue to seek the larger visions and principles for this city and this neighborhood. There are a number of residents that could also not be on this call that I wanted to list their names to let you know that they are also in support of this. And so some of their names are.
Mr. Berger, do you have them written in your letter here or no?
I do not. I do
Okay.
not, but I was
Go
going
ahead,
to
run-
read their names
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, run through them quickly.
Okay. Alex and Allison Reich on Clinton Avenue. Bridget Kent Marquez on 45th Street. Kate and Brandon Tassif on Clinton Avenue. Jen and Derek Koperdak on Clinton Avenue. Richard and Emily Hennahan, and Donna and Evan Bailey on Franklin Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varga. All right, Councilman, I see your hands up. I don't think we got a chance to swear you in earlier. So, Ms. Brown.
My apologies, Madam Chair. And again, I appreciate your flexibility today with the committee.
Do you
No problem.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply I do, state your name and your address, please.
I do. Carrie McCormick, 601 Lakeside Avenue.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Good to see everybody again. And once again, thank you for your patience with me. Madam Chair, just briefly, and I submit, oh, there's my letter of support. Okay. A couple quick things I want to cover this. First and foremost, you know, I want to note that we are engaging myself as well as traffic engineering directly with the community members on the concerns as a whole around parking in the area. And there's a couple of things with that. Number one, you know, we're looking at the new technologies that the city's being brought on. Columbus and other cities have done really innovative solutions, parking solutions with technology. So I fully, you know, hear folks in the community, and we are going to continue to pursue those conversations. We're setting up a meeting now with the traffic commissioner and as well as the folks that will be brought on around updating the city's parking system. So we will, in good faith and due diligence, continue those conversations because again, other cities have done actually quite creative things around on-street parking management. So, but with that said, Madam Chair, as is noted in the email that I sent, I fully 100% support this project. This is the first, and I think this, I don't know if this was said earlier, my apologies. This is the first all-female minority-owned business that I've worked with in my time on Cleveland City Council. And I think that needs to be underlined. I mean, we've had partners, we've had you know, folks that are invested and otherwise, but this is an exciting day in the sense that this is bringing real ownership to folks in our community who historically have not been on the front of these types of developments, and that's really exciting. You have a small business owner here, Madam Chair, who has been an incredible asset for our community, not only within the walls of her business, but her outreach to the community in a number of ways that I won't, I'm sorry. That I won't go into full detail here, but has a long history of community engagement, lives in our community as well. And then, you know, the four, I believe it's the four businesses that are coming into this building are what I hear from residents that they want to see, right? And that is things that are adding benefit to the community when it comes to exercise and childcare, and these types of community assets are what folks say they want to see in the neighborhood. So we're really excited about this all-female owned development and small business coming into the neighborhood. I'm sorry, I keep getting something popping up on my screen. I don't know if that's on my computer or the piece. And then, Madam Chair, specific to the variances requested, this is an existing condition in which you have a historic building on a historic corridor for an adaptive reuse to this building. The previous user also did not have dedicated parking. This does not have dedicated parking. We're expecting these businesses to be in business for 100 years, but if they are not, the next user in 60 years and decides to retire will also not have dedicated parking. That is simply the built form of this corridor. And once again, we will be working with the city and the community to come up with creative parking solutions, on-street parking solutions, but simply put, short of demolishing one of the historic buildings near this building, which, trust me, would not go over well with the neighborhood. You know, this business does not have a parking lot. Neither do most of the buildings around it as well. So again, with the context that we are working with the neighborhood and will continue to work with the neighborhood and the city on parking solutions, this is a welcome new development and business in our community, and I fully support this project, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, I have Ms. Steigerwald next on the list. Okay, hearing nothing, we'll move next to Mr. Marinucci.
Sorry about that. I'm here to support Ann's project, and I think she's done a great job.
Is this Ms. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Okay, go
Can
ahead.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I think it would be unfair to saddle her business with the parking problems that have accumulated over many years. But I also understand the concerns of the people who live on Church Street and hope that some help will be able to be worked out for them, whether it's some parking for people that live on permit parking or whatever. But I'm really happy that Ann is doing what she's doing with her business, and think that it will contribute to the community. That's all.
Great, thank you. Okay, I believe we have Ms. Shank next. Celine Shank.
I'm sorry, I have kids pulling me in different directions right now. I am so in support of Ann and her business. She's done so much good for this neighborhood. And I do understand that, parking is a stressor for the people that live on Church, but, I agree with what everyone said so far about, this building is not going to have parking. And without demolishing historic structures, we just have to go with it. And, she's doing a lot of looking into other options for parking, which I think is amazing. And I think this is going to do more good for the neighborhood than, leaving a vacant building.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Artali. Going once, going twice. All right, Ms. Rosenthal Green. Okay, don't hear any from there. I see Ms. Marinucci has her hand up. You want to speak now?
Yes, I think I just got skipped. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I am also very much in huge support of this variance. I sit on the Ohio City Inc. Board of Trustees, as well as the Ohio City Design Review Board as an advisory to the Landmarks Commission, and am a restoration renovation focused architect in the neighborhood. And can't speak more to the fact that we cannot put this issue onto a single business owner, especially not a female business owner who is trying to support other female minority business owners through this effort. The only way we would get adequate parking is to demolish historic structures that are so integral to the fabric of our neighborhood. And part of the reason that Ohio City is so special and great is our very strong historic district. I'd also like to mention on the record that as a board member for Ohio City Inc., I've had several neighbors that live in this block club reach out to me directly expressing their distress over not just this variance, but more broadly, they don't feel welcome in the block club, nor do they feel that the block club represents their views of the neighborhood. So that's a broader issue. And I have several names to that have reached out to me and given support to this that I'd also like to be read into the record, if that's okay.
How many names you talking?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 households. So
Oh, that's good. Okay, yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
it's not gonna be a 101. Myself and my husband Jeff Green at 4308 Clinton Avenue, Ted Tai Wong on 32nd, Allie Carr and Tommy Lavelle on Franklin Boulevard, Joel Wimbiscus on Clinton, Dan Whalen on Vine Court, Molly Toussaint and Josh McLaughlin on West 38th, Aaron and Bobby Saltzman on Clinton Avenue. And I think that's inclusive. I think there's a couple more names, but they're also were present on this call and have given testimony. So I think that covers majority of the people who have personally reached out to give support to this project.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Trimble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ben Trimble, Chief Real Estate Officer for Ohio City Incorporated. This project has participated in a very robust community outreach process, which was recently adopted by Ohio City Incorporated's Board of Trustees. That includes addressing the entire neighborhood at our monthly community meeting. That's a meeting that is live streamed, both on Boxcast as well as Facebook Live. It is recorded and posted to our websites that can be accessed later. And this developer also participated in a third-party online proprietary system that we work with called Co-Urbanize, so that it allows neighbors, not just folks from block clubs, but throughout the neighborhood, to see the site plan, to see the plans for the space, to see what they're talking about, and as well to comment on those plans. And so I did send, I believe Nathan Law from our staff did send the results from Co-Urbanize to Ms. Kukla last week. I won't belabor it too much. I will say that we asked 2 questions. We had 2 questions were asked of respondents based on the proposed site plan. Would you prefer to see more parking or streetscape improvements that prioritize people walking and biking? Of the 45 total responses and votes for those responses, only 3 said that they should emphasize parking. All the others were some combination of an emphasis on ensuring walking, biking, transit connections were more prominent, and that streetscape should take a priority over parking. The second question that we asked of respondents, do you support a parking variance for this project, and why or why not? Most people emphasized that there was a wealth of available parking. There are 2 paid lots within a block of the lot, as well as some vacant parking garages. Of the 66 responses, actually, only 3 actually said that that they would be concerned about parking. So that is not, our feedback. Those are independent responses from folks who live and work in the neighborhood. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Trimble. All right, so is anyone else that has been sworn in that I did not call on?
I apologize. Can I speak for just a moment?
Who's this?
Yolanda Rosenthal Green. I'm the owner of Soul Yoga.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to point out that we're so excited to be coming into the neighborhood, first of all. I wanted to speak on behalf of the parking. Our intention at Soul Yoga is to service the community, so we should not, I'm not expecting a large amount of cars. We are trying to service who lives in the neighborhood. Over 50% of our staff, our hired staff, lives in the area, literally across the street and next door to the building. So I just wanted to state that fact. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Question of the chairperson, Bill Merriman. Is written testimony also being accepted and reviewed? I turned in 2.5 pages of petition from people who are objecting to this proposal. Are those also under review?
If you send them to Ms. Kukla, we have them on the record.
I have not heard them read.
Yes, they are on record, Madam Chair.
We don't need them read. We have them on the record.
2.5 pages of signatures is quite a bit of testimony.
Yeah, but they're not here. So we have the list and we have it on the record and will be on the record for this case.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So first, I will have to say that I think this might be the first time in the history of my time at BZA that we've had an overwhelming people in support of a project coming out to actually say that. So I appreciate people coming to support, taking their time out to actually support a project. So I don't think we've really had that in a long time. So, so with that being said, I'll open it up to my board for any questions.
Madam Chair, I do have a question in particular for Ben Trimble of Ohio City. And I agree with you. I thank the people who provided testimony today for being here. There is great support and understand, you know, the challenge of the building and how it has worked, you know, historically without parking. And kudos to the developer and the businesses for their plans going forward. But to Mr. Trimble, you talked about the survey and that you didn't get much comments arguing for parking versus streetscape and biking. Mr. Merriman just informed us of several pages of people who are interested in parking being prioritized. I get it's not going to be settled immediately. So my specific question is, what is Ohio City as a nonprofit responsible for overseeing or directing development in the area? How are you working with the city and the councilman as he discussed? I'd like to know from the nonprofit, what are the next steps for finding better solutions for parking? And that's my question.
Yes, ma'am. So as the councilman said, I think we have all been waiting for some time for the city to enact new paid parking solutions at street parking, which I think will definitely help with parking at peak times and with turnover in front of businesses.
Really? Sorry.
Sorry. And I believe that legislation has been written and authorized. If I understand, perhaps the city planning department can give more specifics on that. I think they're doing the entire city actually, and I know that in speaking to our city planners, we would be one of the first neighborhoods that they were looking at. We have also, as I said on record, there are a number of paid parking solutions within walking distance. There is actually a very large garage that was built at the Church and State project that is largely empty. There is a paid lot actually across the street just behind this at the transformer station. I know that the councilman has discussed resident permit parking. I'm not sure where we're at in the conversation with that. We also do think that there's an ability to add parking back to Detroit in addition to the bike lanes that were just striped in partnership with NOACA and the city of Cleveland. There is still greater capacity on our infrastructure if we look at creative solutions for it. So I would say all of those things as regarding the disparity in comments. I'm not privy, I'm sorry, to Mr. Merriman's letter, so I'm not sure, who signed off on that or, who the 4.5 pages of folks are. I think that people have a lot of different ways in which they access, the public feedback system. The Block Club is certainly one of them, which, Mr. Merriman and Ms. Desatel has spoken of. Ours is an open source online system that might skew towards different users.
Okay, and thank you for your answer. Can you just show me from this diagram the distance to the paid parking locations?
Yes.
Maurice can probably show you better because he has control of the mouse.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Both would work together to do that. Thank you. That's the transformer station, which is very close by. Okay, and that's
the Church and State building.
And you say it's mostly empty and available for pay parking. Is that correct?
So, Madam Chair, they have both resident parking as well as commercial parking that is available. And so while they have dedicated resident spots, there is a large portion of that garage that is actually reserved for commercial tenants, which is sitting largely vacant, according to both the developers as well as the parking lot company that runs it, ABM, who I was in a meeting with the other day. And by the way, I also just want to clarify, I wasn't trying to suggest that the city has been slow in implementing a paid parking solution. I just know that it's a long process and they're doing the entire city. So I know that legislation has been written. I'm not sure on when it will be passed, and I think they may have already issued RFPs, etc.
Okay, last question. The parking at Church and State, is that by the day or by the hour for the retail, for the commercial parking?
By the hour.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, board, any other questions?
Madam Chair, to the appellant, I just had, I was curious to know what accommodations have been made for bike parking and how close the rental scooters and rental bike stations might be to the business.
I can speak to that. Again, Ann Hartnett, developer of the project. We have already gotten permits from the city for 2 bike racks. One will be at the north side of the building on Detroit Ave, and the other will be on the south side of the building, the north side on, Detroit Ave, and then one on the south side of the building on Church Ave. As far as Cleveland bike rentals, currently it's a bit of a free-for-all with both electric scooters and bikes, and that you can really park them anywhere. We'll hope to corral that so that it doesn't impede on the sidewalk like it does in some areas of downtown. But there's plenty of frontage in front of both Detroit Ave and Church Ave for people to bike those electric scooters that are available for rent. I also just want to speak to elaborate again on the paid parking. Previously, I had one location in downtown Cleveland, and we also worked with ABM for paid parking. Our riders, we worked with them on validation to have that at a discount, and they were paying anywhere from $10 to $12 an hour. I just want to reiterate the affordability of both of these paid lots, the transformer station and Church and State, are in total going to be about $3 for someone to stay for an entire yoga or cycling class. Of course, if they stayed longer for cafe, it would be more than that, but it's an incredibly affordable paid lot. So I do think it's a very viable offering. Thank you.
And a follow-up question to you. If you could clarify, are you underwriting RTA passes for your employees, or are you just offering them for sale through your venue, or what exactly are you doing with RTA?
That's a relationship we started, as I mentioned, when we had a downtown location, because parking, affordable parking was an issue for us at that location. And so it's going to range based on the role. We have pretty robust benefits for our full-time employees, but then it's a bit different for our hourly employees. So we hope to come up with solutions as time gets closer to opening. But at this point, I really can only commit that we plan to work with RTA directly to either have it be deducted from paychecks at their expense or something that we're helping offset the cost of.
Okay, so you're in conversations with RTA at this point then?
Yes, that's correct. We've worked with RTA in the past and plan to in the future as well.
Okay.
We don't really need to, the RTA has recently rolled out a mobile solution,
Right.
so we don't really, in the past, we had discussed selling bus passes as a way to ease, the transaction and the process, but, really they've really modernized that. So for customers, we don't expect needing to sell transit passes because that's now completely mobile.
Right. I would expect most of your clientele would be able to take advantage of that mobile app that RTA has now. I believe that's all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Just want to leave it final for city planning if they wanted to add anything, because I officially didn't call on them. Maurice?
Maurice Rowland, City Planning. It's other than just summing up what's already been said, I thank everybody that's come. We're really happy that a lot of people have participated in this and that a lot of people have come out in support of this project. I agree with a lot of what the councilman said, especially that, this is an old historic building. It's in a historic area, a historic district. The building is in existing condition. It's built edged property line to property line. I think this building is better served being in use than sitting vacant and not being used. I also would like to point out that some of these businesses are just being relocated from within the same district. They're just being moved over a few buildings. I do think that I will acknowledge that, parking can be a bit tight in that area sometimes, but the city is also endeavoring to move towards promoting alternate forms of transportation other than cars. This project is on a major bus line on Detroit, and it's also a very short distance from another major bus line on Lorraine. So it's very well served by transit systems in the city. I know that the councilman also mentioned that he is working with the city's traffic engineer and engineering construction to maybe come up with a traffic management or a parking management plan, and maybe doing some kind of on-street parking management, which I think is actually a fantastic effort. And maybe this building is pushing something that we've talked about for a long time. So I think in that respect, it's also a positive improvement. And I think for all of those, the fact that they're adding bike racks is also another plus to this project. So really, with all of that said, the city is very much in support of this project.
Thank you. All right, after we heard from city planning, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, we'd like to thank everyone that is present today who has made testimony, both pro and con, for this project. And we want to assure the residents of the area that all testimony today is part of the court recorder that documents all of this, as are any documents that were submitted for the record. Excuse me. Just had to decline a call. So we've heard testimony from the councilman as to the parking situation. We have seen in several projects around the city, particularly in areas like Ohio City, Tremont, Little Italy, where parking is at a high premium, that certain projects have become a catalyst for change. And as Mr. Rulins noted, it is highly likely that this is the case in this situation, since the councilman is working with traffic and engineering to look at some alternative solutions to the parking in this neighborhood. We've heard testimony from the appellant that they will be adding bike racks for active transit on both the north and south sides of the building. They are looking to build corrals for rental active transit, which is the bikes that are available and the scooters that are available, that will also add to the ease of transportation and reduce the parking need for the building. And in addition, we've heard testimony from the appellant that they are in conversation with RTA, and RTA is really moving themselves forward in recent years on being more rider friendly and more capable of handling ease of boarding, payment of transit passes, and being much more sensitive to riders as they have gone through a redesign of the entire system. So as Mr. Ruins noted, we have a high service area on Detroit Avenue and also a high service area with public transit, fixed routes, and the BRTA that is very adjacent to this building. So I think all of that will help alleviate the parking situation. And as I said, this project may be a catalyst for making changes. So I hope that alleviates some of the concerns of the residents to the area. Also noted is that there's paid parking in very close adjacency. So as to the variances, I think those have been addressed, and there's lots of conversation and problem solving going on with that. With all that being said, Madam Chair, I think that I would move that we go ahead and approve the variance for calendar numbers 22-188 and 22-172.
Thank you. Before I get a second, I do want to put on record, Ms. Kukla has the number of objections from the petition, so we want to make sure that's on the record. So what's the number on that, Ms. Kukla?
Madam Chair, there were 25 people that signed the petition that Mr. Merriman referenced. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion. Can I have a second, please?
Member Brown, I second.
Ms. Brown with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 22-188 and 22-172 are granted. They will be ratified next week, and we will send the appellant a letter.
All right, thank you. All right, old business 1 through 6, 8, and 11 without objection.
Without objection.
All right, thank you. We are concluded for today. Everyone have a good week.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Well, bye.
Bye-bye.